Want to know why? Ask how. Howard the Humongous. This week's episode. Sometimes even obnoxious people are right. The obnoxious person of the week is, guess who? Donald Trump. Trump is right about two things this week. Two. The party convention system, he says, is rigged to take the process away from the voters, to make it undemocratic, and to hand the convention process to insiders. Guess who's right? Donald Trump is right. And Donald Trump point number two. Before we go any further with Islam, we have to recognize that we don't understand it. And then we have to try to figure it out. Two correct items. Astonishing for a man with Trump's inability to do homework. First of all, sometimes the conventions are rigged. I've been doing weekly commentary on the political conventions for Coast to Coast, the highest rated overnight talk radio show in North America. It's on 500 radio stations. And despite doing research week after week after week, there's no way I will ever come anywhere near understanding how the conventions work. And unless the conventions work simply and transparently, they do not translate your vote in the voting booth during the primaries into action. The people that you want to vote for, the people you have voted for, are not necessarily the people who are going to get to be president. Because, and you've heard this a million times, after the first vote, all of those representatives of yours who were bound to follow your directions on the first vote are free to do anything they want. Now, some good things have come out of this bizarre process. In 1860, the Republican convention was deadlocked between three major candidates. It took 3 ballots to arrive at a conclusion about who should be nominated, and the person nominated was an absolute nobody. His name was Abraham Lincoln. In 1880, another Republican convention. The convention was so deadlocked it went through 35 votes. None of the leading candidates, including Ulysses S. Grant, who had been president for 2 terms, had then gone away and toured Europe and had a smashing world tour, a headline-making world tour, and wanted to come back and have a 3rd term as president. Despite the august quality of names like Ulysses S. Grant, they ended up on the 36th ballot picking an unknown, James A. Garfield, a congressman, who looked, if he had not been assassinated, like he may have turned out to be a very good president. So despite the fact that the convention system is rigged so that it doesn't represent your views and mine, sometimes it produces miracles. Point number 2, I've been finishing a 10-year update, an update for the first time in 10 years, a radical, total update of the Muhammad Code, which is now called the Muhammad Code, how a desert prophet brought you ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram, or how Muhammad invented jihad. And I'm going to read you a little bit of what we do need to come to understand about Islam. Hillary Clinton believes that she knows what Islam is because she has been fooled by groups that front for the Muslim Brotherhood, a jihadist group that wants to take over America in a 5th column, and says so in one of its first major documents, its pronouncement on its strategy for North America. It calls what it wants to do as a grand jihad in which Islam will convince us to take apart our own miserable civilization. Miserable is from their founding document. With our very own hands. They have convinced Hillary Clinton that Islam is a religion of peace. They have convinced Barack Obama that Islam is a religion of peace. They have convinced the organization of Catholic prelates that Islam is a religion of peace. They've pulled this game. They've snookered just about every major religious organization in America and just about every major news source, with the possible exception of Fox TV. That is my side. I'm on the left. I'm a registered Democrat. Has been snookered the most. It's time to get unsnookered. Here are a few things that it says in the new version of the Muhammad Code. Islam is not a religion of peace. Islam is based on following Muhammad's example. Muhammad commanded 65 military campaigns, personally led 27 of them, and conquered 317 square miles a day of territory. His 4 companions, who became the first caliphs, took what would soon be a territory 11 times the size of the conquests of Alexander the Great, 5 times the size of the Roman Empire. That is the size of 5 entire Roman empires. and 7 times the size of the United States. They toppled superpowers that make America, Russia, and China look like pipsqueaks. The Persian Empire and the Roman Empire. The Muslims, these desert fleas, toppled them both. And they didn't do it through kindness and personal persuasion. They didn't even do it by flummoxing, outfoxing them, and convincing them false things were correct, like Islam is a religion of peace. Give me a break. They did it with murder. They did it with mass murder. They did it with slaughter. They did it with massacre. Slaughter and massacre are both words that are used by Muslim translators of the Quran for Muhammad's own words on what he laid out as the necessities of Islam. Instead of reading you from this long thing that I prepared from you, just a few words, Muhammad left a simple message. You must participate in jihad and go out to kill others and be fearless about being killed while you are killing others, as long as those others are unbelievers, at least once in your lifetime, or you are not going to make it to paradise. If you sit on your ass, I'm paraphrasing Muhammad here, but if you sit back and let others do the warfare, you are not going to make it to paradise. And the imam, he who leads the faith, this was said by the companions of the Prophet after Muhammad was dead, must send out a military expedition into the land of the unbeliever, that's your land and my land, to do what? To kill. In order to do what? To conquer territory. In order to conquer and to take those who are conquered and utterly humiliate them. You must do this if you are a leader of the Islamic community at least once a year and preferably twice a year. Every man must make war. Every man must be prepared to go out and kill unbelievers. And every leader must be ready to go out and invade the lands of the unbelievers at least once every single year, 10 times in every decade, preferably 20 times in every decade. And if you manage to live through the slaughter, the devastation, the mayhem of a Muslim conquest, what can you expect? If you hold on to your old religion, there's a slot for you. It's called being a dhimmi. If a Muslim comes to you and wants your seat, you get up and move. If a Muslim is coming along the sidewalk, you get down into the street or look for a side alley. Muslims can greet each other with a standard greeting, wishing peace unto each other. You are not allowed a greeting like a human being. You are not a human being. And if you violate any of the rules laid upon you as a member of a secondary class, a subspecies, a subrace, these apartheid-like rules, these rules are apartheid, and they're a basic part of Islam. If you violate one of those rules, you can be killed in any way that any Muslim wants to kill you. Islam is not a religion of peace, it is a religion of conquest. That is the way Muhammad built it, and a religion of conquest is based on the obligation of every single individual to go out and kill unbelievers in order to take new territory and subjugate, or to use a word that's used very often in Islam, to humiliate those who remain alive. That's apartheid. That's what we have been taught to call racism, and it's right at the very core of Islam. Those people who regard Islam as a religion of peace, bless their souls. They are my friends. They must be defended for all we're worth. And we are collaborating right now to put those people down and to get them expelled from any legitimate forum. By who? The Muslim Brotherhood. The people who say they are on a grand jihad to topple our miserable civilization and to get us to do it by our very own hands. So sometimes even idiots can be right. And this week, the idiot who was right is Donald Trump. And he was right about conventions, taking the vote out of your hands and giving it to insiders. And he was certainly right about the fact that we don't understand Islam and we must understand it before we go any further in dealing with it. Not that we have a choice, because whether we want to deal with it or not, militant Islam is dealing with us every day. This is Howard the Among Us, speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to make, or want to know why, ask how. And now, for that ridiculous, sleazy, slimy, and I'm running out of S words for something that's sneaky and you can't find, little off button. I think I've got it.